Okay, we will reconvene into open session at 5:46. I do have one item to report. By a vote of 5-0, trustees voted to release one 1.75 hour per day probationary classified employee effective at the end of the workday on September 18th, 2023. Pass that to Kim, please. Thank you. All right. And now we will move on to the Pledge of Allegiance. Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And this was led by students from Ishii Hills Middle School. Is that correct? Thank you very much, students, for coming today and leading us in that.
And I'd like to ask all three students to come up forward here. So in appreciation for coming out and leading the pledge this evening, we have certificates of appreciation from the board. And so Max, congratulations.
Thank you.
And if you walk along, you can shake the hands of our board of trustees. Celine. Congratulations, Celine. Thank you for coming.
Thank
And
you.
Christian.
Thank you so much.
Christian Romero. Congratulations. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, students. We appreciate your time.
And families, you can be excused at this time. We appreciate you bringing them to our board meeting this evening.
You
too.
All right, we'll move on to the comments section. Comments and announcements by board members. Lisa Torres.
Good evening. I had the pleasure of attending the Supportive School Climate Advisory Board. We had our first meeting. It was really good. Thank you, Troy, for all the information and the presentations that you did. Great food. And we just encourage everybody to come out and attend to these meetings. These meetings are very important. They're very informational. I know Troy was just coming in and, piggybacking off of the information that he already had. So we did give some helpful hints, like, we like hard copy paper, hard copies to look at. Sometimes it's hard to retain and get all that information that's put on the up on the board. So thank you for taking those suggestions, and I'm just looking forward to the next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Jessica Anthony.
Okay, so we're in our second meeting since school began. Has been a huge safety hazard with the pickup situation at one of our school sites, specifically Ophir. And I just wanted to let the board know that Mrs. Hubbard and Dr. Holtum worked well together to solve the problem, and they were able to get traffic out of the road and arrange it so that things moved in a nice manner so that there were no more hazards on the road for the kids. And so I wanted to thank Mrs. Hubbard for that. And Dr. Holtum, thank you for your contribution to that too. It works very nicely now. Second, I have and continue to appreciate the opportunity to get into the classroom with the younger kids. I have an older student who is now thoroughly embarrassed by me coming to the classroom. So I'll take what I can get in second grade, but there are a lot of kids in second and first grade, and we have a lot of fun at our stations, and it's really important to be involved, and I am really grateful for the opportunity. So I just wanted to share that with the board.
Thank you. Sandra Barnes.
Hi, I just wanted to reiterate what Jessica said. When my kids were that age, it was extremely important. Not only, and I'm going to say this, and it's not going to sound right, but not only for their discipline, but for their desire to have stability and to recognize that their parents are actually having a vested interest in their reality, to know that they are wanted, known, and cared and recognized. To go back to the traffic issue, I think it was the second day of school. I got up from no, it was like, yeah, it was Thursday, the second day of school. I got up and I looked at my security camera, and the traffic was backed up from Central all the way down Mesa past my house, which is 2.5, almost 3 blocks down the road. And I immediately got on the horn and I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going on down there, people? And I never did find out what was going on down there, what happened that day. Just a lot of cars that day. Yeah. So since then, most mornings, about a weekend, my littlest dog was attacked by a stray dog. So we haven't been out walking the dogs as much, but normally when we go out in the morning, we recognize when there are homeless people, people that are not supposed to be there before school. And it's been a more noticeable problem this year, I think, than most years. So, but otherwise, I'm glad to see that school's back in session and everybody's really happy to be there.
Thank you. Bill LaGrone.
I have no comments at this time.
Okay, I have no comments at this time as well. So we'll move on to comments and announcements by administration.
Thank you very much, Madam President. I'll try to keep mine brief, but I have several. I've been out and about at all of our schools. We've been in session for about 5 weeks now, and I've started my annual walkthroughs. I'm visiting every classroom at least twice a month now. At least that's my goal, and am often at the school sites. Our safe school meeting we're looking for volunteers from the community and from our ranks of staff to join our district safety team. We are doing a lot of work. We're making a lot of good choices and moving forward with some really good safety measures. And so we want input from all of our stakeholders regarding that. And I do want to announce that we are looking at a couple different companies to vastly improve our communication methods to all staff when it comes to issues in the community in and around our schools. I'd like to thank the city for all their support with getting our SROs back in our schools. That's been a tremendous help. We thank that Chief LaGrone for working very closely with the district and myself, making that work. But also like to thank the city with all the projects that we're doing. We're making great, moving forward nicely with the studios track. That project is nearly complete. They're putting up the lights right now and finishing up the track, but all the curbing and a lot of the infrastructure is in place there. And just a lot of other things that we've been working with the city, and we appreciate that work greatly.
Thank you. Andrew James.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you. Just a few things tonight. First thing, we implemented Parent Square, sort of a soft implementation last winter. This fall, it's fully implemented. Some of our school sites are fully utilizing Parent Square in all the ways that they can. And it's been a boon for us. It's a communication system that's attached to Aries, has some automated communications, but also is a way to get in contact with parents. Obviously Parent Square, that's the name, but I've been out training and working with the different clerks and office managers and principals at the different sites, and they're all doing a wonderful job. And I just wanted to thank them for all their support and making this a successful system. And as we look at it looks at the contactability rate And we're at almost 100% all the time now. So we know for sure we're able to get in contact with parents when we need to, which under old systems, we weren't ever really able to know, that everybody had valid phone numbers and emails and things. So that's, to me, very exciting. The next thing that we're wrapping up the network cabling project. They did the district office a couple weeks ago. And that's sort of phase one of a two-part project. And the second part is we're going to be adding some new wireless access points to the outsides of our school sites so that when we have our PBIS reward systems, those will work better. Additionally, we're going to be switching from our current variety of wireless access points to a new vendor, a new type called Ruckus. And the advantage there is right now we have our controller back at the district office. So if the power goes off there, the wireless goes off for the whole district. And in the new system, it won't be like that. It'll be site by site based. So we're real excited, and a lot of people are doing a lot of work to make all of this happen. I just want to thank our IT staff and all the maintenance staff and everybody that are involved in that, because it's been the wiring project has gone on for over a year. So just know that's been a huge project for the district, and it's been wonderful.
Great. Thank you. And Troy Cox.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak about curriculum and instruction. I did provide an overview of things that have happened over the last couple of weeks since the last board meeting. I wanted to highlight a couple. Our two elementary art teachers are fully teaching now. They were able to get their planning underway, get all materials ordered, and we are rotating. Students are getting art 2 times a month at every one of our elementary schools, which is a great thing to make sure our students are getting exposed to that. And then we also have 2 of our instructional coaches that are working this year. We do have quite a few new teachers this year, so we're able to use those teachers as a good bridge and support for them, mentor coaches, being in the classroom, supporting them, anything else they need to be successful in the classroom. So I wanted to make sure that I highlighted them as well. We had our Williams visit on September 6th with the county came in, and they actually do the materials visit, which is for the textbooks. And we'll be talking about that later in the meeting tonight, but they also do the facilities at the same time, which is unique. Not all counties do that. So it's good to get both done on the same day. So we should be getting a report soon, but was not made aware of any deficiency. So we should look good going in. And then, as well as we are looking at a program called Kelvin, which is our universal screener. This is a term that is used for a way that we can check in with our students on a regular basis. It's actually a really neat program. It does, if anybody remembers in the old Microsoft Office suite, they used to have that little paper clip down in the corner. Everybody tried to get rid of it because it was, kind of annoying. But as far as what Kelvin does now is we put out what are called pulses. We call them surveys or questionnaires. But what will happen is if we need to ask our students a question, that little dog pops up in the corner and they actually click on it and ask a 5-question. We follow up with our mental health staff as well as administration. So it's going to be a good tool for our students to be able to make sure that all our students are being questioned at the same time, and we're able to check in on a more constant basis. And that pretty much wraps up. There is some more information in there, but you're free to take a look. Thank you.
Thank you. And Holly Gutierrez.
Thank you. It's been a wonderful year so far. I've gone out to all the sites and visited all of our classrooms. I know there is a special needs carnival that is going to be happening in Durham. It's sponsored by the ARC. So we have distributed flyers to all of our special educators who are distributing them out to our students. So I just want to make sure it's out there that, everyone's welcome, and we would love to have everyone out there on October 14th in Durham at the Durham Community Park. The SDO has gotten a new digital sign out front. It's located on Wyandotte Avenue, and it's a wonderful way that we are able to communicate with the community, our parents, about upcoming events, mini days and such. So if you get a chance, drive by. It's a wonderful sign to have out there.
Great, thank you.
Madam President, if I
Yes.
may ask Holly, can you just give a brief update on our preschool?
Yes, so we have interviewed and hired an office manager for the state preschool that will be located at Sierra de Oral Inclusive Preschool. She has started, it's been about 2 weeks. She has gone through the training in order to do the certification and the licensing for the building itself. We've had the fire marshal come out, and also we passed that part of certification. We have interviewed and offered, and 2 teachers have accepted to in order to start the program. Obviously, we need our office managers, we need our teachers. And so they are onboarding, and I believe next week are finishing that piece of the onboarding and would be able to be in the classrooms with students. We have a wait list of an entire class ready to go already. So it's not going to be a hard thing to find students in order to join the preschool. A lot of them are excited. And I think about that. The rooms are ready, all the furniture's there, the curriculum's there, everything's there.
So all we're waiting for is just our last certification from the state, and
Yes.
we just applied for that, including, and so we're in the final stages of doing all that. So we're excited.
Yep.
Wonderful, thank you. All right, we'll move on to item C, comments by the public. At this time, the board will extend an invitation to interested parties who wish to speak on matters which are school related. For those attending remotely who wish to comment, use the raise your hand button to be called on to speak. Comments or questions may also be emailed to backpack@ocesd.net. Please include your first and last name in your email. Comments and questions received will be read into the record and addressed during this meeting. However, comments received without the sender's name will not be shared during the meeting. Do we have any emails at Backpack?
No, we do not.
Okay, any hands raised online?
No, there are not.
Is there anyone from the public audience that would like to speak at this time? All right, come on up. State your name.
I did it right this time. Christy Anglin, nice to see you guys. I teach TK at Ophir Elementary. And this year we are so excited. We have 2 TK classrooms up at our site, and we have been doing ABC boot camp. And that entails an alphabet letter a day for 26 days in conjunction with our Wonders curriculum. And please mark your calendars for Friday, September 29th. We are having an ABC fashion show, 9 o'clock. Hopefully in the quad area, and you never know what you're going to get when you have 4-year-olds running amok, well, down runways and things like that. But I would love to see you there and come visit our classrooms, see what we're doing. It's been great. It's been a great start of the year. Thank you.
Thank you. I wish I could be there. That sounds exciting.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, now we'll move on to 6 presentations, a summer school recap. Push the button. Got to push it hard. There you go.
I'm very excited here to share my experience with the 2003 summer school. You all approved the curriculum and the thoughts of the ELOP grant when I came before you. And I just want to say it was a pleasure working with the district and working with the children this summer. And I'd like to share with you how our summer school program went. So this year we had 1 principal, 13 teachers, 8 instructional aides, office staff, clerks, counselors, social workers, and campus supervisors. So we had a nice group of people working with us, which makes it really nice for the kiddos. It's not a fancy PowerPoint. It's just a really informational here. We had 181 students registered. We had a last minute change in location due to some construction that was going on. And I think it mixed a few of the parents up, but we were really happy. We're hoping to get 100 and we got 181. So that was really exciting. 160 at the highest enrollment. So we had 2 sessions. And so some of them were in the first session, some were in the second, some were in both. So I gave you some information. I can share this with you later on rather than read you all the slides, but this is just some details. We had a nice array of students where they came from the different schools and a nice array of the different grades. It just kind of worked out that way. It was really nice. This was the flyer that we sent out on Save the Dates. I did work extensively with the California State Parks program. That was my real excitement this year, was collaborating with them. And we had a fantastic group of people up at the state parks. We also were able to visit out to the North Forebay. You'll see a little bit of that. And Miss Sellers, Amanda Sellers, was my contact person up at the state parks, and she is just fabulous with kids and would like to continue to do work with the district throughout the year. So this is just a little bit. I do a lot more in pictures, as words say a lot more than me yakking at you. So this is a butterfly exhibit. Kids got to come in and see. This is where they raised the butterflies, and they went ahead and they got to see them. And then they were invited on Father's Day to come out to the forebay and release the butterflies. This is the hands-on math games. Everything, my focus, as you know, from the ELOC grant was hands-on, student-led, and high engagement. I didn't want worksheets. I didn't want kids behind computers. We did use computers a little bit, but not very much at all. And the kids really thrived this summer. So these are some of the math games. The funny thing is they used it, the math games. This is Elisa Haru's class, and she used the pigs, and then how the pigs landed was how much money they were worth. And then the kids had to write it on the whiteboard and add them up. It was really amazing. This is the owl pellets. So I had a teacher who was interested in dissecting the owl pellets. And of course I said, yes, let's do that. And the kids just absolutely loved it. There was no squeamish anything going on. I really thought it was great that the kids all just delved right in. They're like, look what I found. This is, we had a guy come from, he works at Chico Country Day. Is it Chico Country? Okay. And he actually works over there, but he came over and did a fossil. He brings the fossils with us and does a little presentation with the students. And then they actually got to search for fossils and look up some of the fossils. Again, the hands-on science. This is one of our state parks collaborations with Amanda Sellers, and she did a nature journal. So the kids can all talk about when they go to nature, they had a place to write it down, and they all got to design their own. This one, I got to tell you, I'm sorry, I'm getting goosebumps because these kids, they all had critters. I know this sounds funny, but they had puppets, and they got to pick the puppet and they got to say what they knew about the puppet. So they all did a presentation on the fly. And the kids, some of these kids are very low engagers. They're not the kid who's going to stand up in class and say something, but every one of them, I have video of every one of them speaking and talking about it was very cool. West Coast Falconry came up from Yuba City, and it's magnificent. Until you see these animals in real life, you cannot imagine. They're just gorgeous. The kids did not get to touch the animals, probably makes you feel a little better, but they did get to feel the wings. They had some wings from other things, so the kids got to feel and feel how the wings felt. And she was fabulous and had great knowledge. Science, this is the kids doing some science. Our curriculum came with a science bucket full of items. So the teachers all did it. They loved it. They said the curriculum was great with the science. So the kids are all doing some hands-on projects here. This is brain breaks. I love it. I know they're playing cards, but we did a lot of playing cards, a lot of dice this summer, a lot of learning how money, how numbers all look in a different fashion, how they come in a different way. And I think the kids had a good time. They did some art. This is balloon art where they put color inside a balloon. Not an artist, but pretty amazing. And we did basic tasks. We taught kids who didn't know how to tie their shoes this summer. They did a sink or float. This was kind of fun. We did coding, a lot of coding. We did it with dashes. We did it with the Ozobots. Kids love the robots. This is a trip to the North Forebay, where again, a collaboration with the California State Parks, where they got to do water safety. Everybody knew how to swim, but everybody wore a jacket. Just tell you, never see a kid in here without a jacket. A nature walk, the local landmarks, and they had a lot of fun in the water. Kids who don't normally get a chance, they got to use the paddle boards, the paddle boats, and the stand-up boards. We had Water Day. Water Day was it was one of our most popular. I know Dr. Holton was there for a couple of our water days, and Yeah, got a little wet, but we had a lot of fun. This was one of my favorite things that we did. The CalFresh put on a student-free farmers market, and they came out and Mayor Pittman came and gave a little speech to the kids. And then they got to go out and fill buckets full of free produce. It was really awesome. And for them to see the fresh fruit and to have that was really a treat. Oh, okay. Okay. I'm very proud of it. This is some student work. We did some writing where the kids tore the papers and then they wrote about the fox. I couldn't find the one on the little doe today. This is awesome. This is a sublimation printer that the district owns. So the kids got to draw their critters. We call them different critters because we didn't want to say mammals and confuse them. So those kids drew those on a piece of paper. And then we have a machine that you put it in a special printer. And then we pressed them onto t-shirts for them. And they were so proud of themselves. These are just some of our students that were having fun. And this is Carnival Day. They had popcorn and cotton candy and snow cones. And it was very hot in some of the days. So they had Lego tables set up and they had Play-Doh tables set up. And they just had a really good time and got to interact with each other. It was really hard for me to believe because I thought I would have issues with kid from Stanford and kid from Wyandotte saying, oh, I didn't hear it once. Did not hear it once that you're from some other school. It was awesome. It just put them all together like McDonald's and they're all happy. This is another collaborative critter creators, and they took driftwood and they created their own critters using different methods, different paints and pipe cleaners. Oops, I think I got a double slide in here. This is again the carnival. This one in the back, I don't know if you can see it. The teachers all did the little activities, and this one was a donut one where they had to put their hands behind their back and they had to get the donut off of the string. It was pretty funny to watch the kids. So I think that's all I have. If you have any questions, if you want to know about anything that we did, Dr. Holtham, you interviewed some of the kids, you talked to the kids, and what were some of their remarks?
Well, I don't think I need to add anything. I think we had a pretty robust summer school this year with a lot of great activities, and a lot of learning took place, but in a classroom that was hands-on and really engaging. So thank you, Ms. Lukanik. Excellent job. We appreciate you and the board. In coming months, Mrs. Lukanik is going to be retiring next month, and so we're going to miss her, but maybe we'll bring her back for summer school next year.
All right. And we'll move on to item number 7, public hearing session, adequacy of textbooks, instructional materials. The Board of Trustees will receive public comment on the adequacy of textbooks and instructional materials provided to students in grades K-8. The district has sufficient textbooks to provide each student with his or her own textbook in the core subjects of reading, language arts, mathematics, science, and history, social science. The middle school level, grades 6 through 8, every student has a hard copy textbook or an e-version text available. And we will take action later in the meeting.
So this is just a public hearing, letting the public know that the adequacy of textbooks and instructional materials. And so we will be voting this on a, is it tonight or a later date when we receive the report, Troy? Tonight, yeah, tonight. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? Did I skip something? Oh, no, I did not. I'm sorry. I skipped the public action comments on action items. So item 8A, the board will extend an invitation to interested parties who wish to speak on items that are listed on the agenda. For those attending remotely who wish to comment, use the raise your hand button to be called on to speak. Comments may also be emailed to backpack@ocesd.net. Please include your first and last name in your email. Comments received that pertain to items listed on the agenda will be read into record during this time. However, comments received without the sender's name will not be read. The Brown Act does not allow the governing board to discuss or take action on any item that is not on the posted agenda. Do we have any emails to read?
No, we do not.
Okay, do we have any hands raised online?
No, we do not.
Okay, do we have any comments from the public? No, we do not. All right, so now we'll move on to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? Okay, is there a second to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh my gosh, I didn't ask if there was any discussion. Is there any discussion or questions on the consent agenda? Sorry, I'm not at my finest tonight. No discussion, no questions. Okay, now I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstain? Motion carries with 5 yes votes. All right, item 10, new business, letter of agreement with Delightful Incorporated.
It is recommended that a letter of agreement with Delightful Incorporated, DBA Kango of Sacramento or San Francisco, California, be approved to provide transportation to and from school for OCESD homeless and foster students. What this is a company similar to Uber, but their drivers and their company have been vetted through the fingerprinting process, also for insurance purposes, to provide transportation for our students who are homeless, who might not otherwise be able to get to and from school.
That's great.
I-
Sarah, discussion.
I noticed that they're based in LA and they have an office in San Francisco, and but I didn't see any other school districts in our area that are also using them. I'm just wondering, who are the drivers?
So it is a company. This is something that's more new and becoming more and more of a thing, because we are having issues with transportation and especially with our population of homeless and foster youth increasing. And we've been working with a lot of families trying to provide transportation. It's very challenging. And so there are a lot of school districts that are starting to move in this direction. None that I know of in this area, but we do know that this company does provide drivers in this area. We do know that. And what was most important to us is the background checks that they have to go through and the insurance portion. And so we looked at a number of different companies, and this one we found to be most reputable.
I looked into that too. I really do enjoy their structure and their business model. I'm just curious as to whether or not, if the parent or a family member were to make an arrangement, if they're going to be able to fulfill that. They actually have quote unquote wheels on the ground.
So that question remains to be seen, because we have to approve this before I can move forward with using the company. But again, the company did say that they have drivers that in our area that can provide this transportation. We don't anticipate using it like on a daily basis, but we do have a number of families that would actually benefit it from this right now.
The other thing I noticed too is that we would be paying them per ride, and there's also a pay structure for the user to also pay them.
So we'll work with that company, because the whole idea is that our homeless family don't have the means to pay for that. And so it is a company that, similar to Uber, can take payment from the direct user. But this is why we're setting up this contract, so that we can work directly with the company. And as we receive the services, we will then pay the payment.
And refresh my memory, how long is this contract for?
Just 1 year.
Okay.
I think it's a great idea. Anything we can do to support our homeless and foster students.
I have one more question. So they're responsible for meeting the needs to and from school
As needed.
as needed, and that is going to come, the communication is going to be through an app?
So part of that is through the app, but Angie Moreno, who is our foster youth liaison for the district, who's also our educational therapist, she's the one who is done all the legwork on this and she works directly with the parents to help them provide this service and to arrange for all of this. We are not just going to basically just turn it over to a parent and say, here's access, go through this process. We'll be watching this very carefully and working with the individual families on a case by case basis.
Okay.
Might be nice to get an update from Angie Marino after a few months of the program happening.
Yeah. And just out of curiosity, when this Kango company is not transporting students at 8 in the morning and 3 in the afternoon, do they continue business throughout the day doing other transportation like publicly, or is this?
That's a great question. I don't have the answer to that. So I don't know if they are doing public transportation in the meantime, but for us specifically, why we went with this company is because of the vettedness of their drivers, because we want to make sure that if we're putting students in cars with strangers, that we have some sense of safety and reliability there. And we are very open to having families be driven with parents as well, because they will have that option to drive with parents or just individually.
And then will this service be available to those foster youth and foster families outside of school hours?
Yes. I did a full vetting. I even downloaded the app and even pretended to be some kind of fake person to see what it would do. It wouldn't let me get very far with my FACO information, which is rather interesting. So there's some element. What is the beeping?
Oh, hell, it's the alarm.
I'm so glad
Call
someone
the police.
noticed. Pretty soon we're going to have a team of professionals invade us. So what I did notice is that there is, I even found a job description for a prospective driver. And it is something that is an on contract as needed basis for this individual. The hours are very flexible for that individual. There have to be, and I saw different reports on this, they have to be at least 21 years of age in the contract that we have. The job description I saw had to be at least 23 years of age. No priors whatsoever, background check, fully vetted. The vehicle that they have has to be 2010 or newer. And car seats are provided for free at no additional cost,
That is correct.
which I found
That was
interesting.
that was a big piece for us, because kids up to the age of 8,
Right,
and depending on their
right.
size, need to have those car seats. And so that was another piece that we vetted, because a lot of our kids that are in this system would need those kind of accommodations.
Yeah. The destination and the pickup locations were completely open and free. There was no specific, oh, now somebody's taken an interest in our alarm. See what you've done, Bill. Whether it be pick up at home or pick up at school or pick up at Walmart or pick up at Food Max, it didn't seem to matter, just so long as there was a student involved. And one of the prefaces was you had to actually enter in the name and the age of the child in question. So that when you arranged for that ride, you had to select which child in the account you would be asking assistance for. And you couldn't proceed with the app unless you chose a child that
So
was.
this is more than just to and from school.
Right.
This
So
is
That's not how I understand.
This is the
So-
transportation system for,
So the way for our intents and purposes, it is strictly for rides to and from school.
Okay.
so that's what the
Okay.
district will be paying for.
That's
strictly to and from
that's
school.
what we are
But
That's why
family
we're entering. Now, could they?
Right.
use
Yes.
it outside on
yes.
their own regard.
So for example, if a mother needed to attend an IEP that's homeless, we could provide transportation for her, so that she could attend the IEP. But the intent of this contract is for us to provide transportation for kids to and from school or other appropriate school sponsored events.
So then that time period could feasibly be as late as 7 o'clock at night.
It could, but the intent is really for school, because these kids do have a hard time getting from school, especially when they're transient. Often they don't have vehicles or can't afford the gas, and so this is one way that we can step in and get these kids to school.
Dr. Holtum, if I'm correct, my understanding is this is nothing more than just a transportation app that is for school by vetted people. It's no different than Uber or Lyft or anything else. And to answer, my understanding is that's probably what they're going to be doing in the meantime. Between 8 and 3, they'll be out doing those type of activities.
Yeah.
These people, the difference is they've been vetted.
They've been vetted. And just like when I started, yes, it's very similar to Uber or Lyft, but these are vetted, and we'll provide additional services like car seats and things like that.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Is this an action item?
It is.
Okay, so it is recommended that a letter of agreement be approved to provide the transportation. So we need a motion to approve a letter of agreement to provide the transportation.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion or questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstained? Motion carries with 5 yes votes. Okay, item B, consider admitting underage student in the district's transitional kindergarten program.
So we have a family that has submitted a request to be allowed to attend our transitional kindergarten program. They do not meet the age eligibility. The age of eligibility cutoff is April. This student is a May 5th birthday. And so they are 4 years old, but they don't meet the criteria. What I'd like to share with the board is that we would not receive funding for this child until the 5th of May. So we'd lose out on the majority of the ADA, but they do have a right to appeal to the board, and that's part of our board policy.
And if I'm not mistaken, if there is a child that is of age that we do get the ADA, they get a preferred spot.
Yes, that's true.
Was the child assessed by our staff and determined that the child is prepared and ready?
Yes.
How many students are in each class?
So this student would be at OFER, and that class is sitting, I'd have to 18.
And what's the limit?
The limit is 24.
So it sounds like there's plenty of space for them.
So there is at this time space.
Are we discussing this?
Yes,
Yeah.
we had one
As
a
you
year or two ago that we
Yeah.
discussed, and we agreed to let them in.
The only thing that raises concern for me is this is an entire year of TK with no ADA. So we're essentially providing free service for this child for the majority of the semester. or
They're only
the
off by a
year.
month, though, from when they could be admitted.
Right, but if they start, are they starting now?
So they would start now. They would
Okay.
start now and get the full
Thought
benefit.
this was for next year.
No, so they would see they would,
So they would
If
start
they
in
were born-
September,
if they were-
go through May, and then as of May 2024, the district would receive ADA for the student until June.
until June. And so basically what this is this parent would like their child to be in transitional kindergarten, but they're not eligible for it.
So would this student attend transitional kindergarten for 2 years?
Nope. So because next year they'll be 5 and they'll be eligible for kinder. So the difference is no TK and they'd start as a regular kindergarten next year, or a full year of TK and be better prepared for kindergarten. Now, kindergartners or TK students that we've allowed in the past, they weren't quite this young. And so that's one consideration that I want to bring forward to the board, is that they are younger. But every year, our TK students are getting younger and younger because the date of eligibility has been moving back 2 months for the last 3
When's
years.
the next time that it moves back?
Next year.
2024.
And then basically all 4-year-olds will be able to attend.
And this isn't a child of an employee, correct?
It is.
That wasn't noted.
I think that would support the
Yeah, I
employee.
didn't see that
Yeah.
anywhere.
I think it's a good idea.
Sure
I would
makes a big
support it.
difference
It
in that
does.
regard, but I don't know that the necessary, the fact that this is a child of an employee makes that big of a difference. It's
At the
as
school
with,
site.
well, I mean, yeah, I can see arguments, pros and cons.
Yeah.
But on the face of it, serving the child has nothing to do with the parent.
I would just like to add that also with the academic, there's a social portion of the testing as well, to make sure that the students socially could handle being with peers a little older than them. And we were fine in all areas.
Thank you. Okay.
Any other discussion? Okay, is there a motion to approve the admittance of an underage student into TK?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion carries with 5 yes votes. All right, item C, approve memorandum of understanding with the California School Employees Association stipend for office manager.
So over the summer, we've met with CSCA, trying to find some solutions and find some training and support for our offices. So we came up with this solution of pulling Tanya Soli, who is the office manager at Oakdale Heights, out and having her support our vacant and soon to be filled clerical positions, as well as supporting some of our district office data functions and supporting capacity building with our office managers.
And she will be doing training for both office managers and new clerks. And a lot of our clerk positions are 3-hour positions. And there's a lot of movement in there as people kind of promote from within to other positions. And we're in constant need of providing training to these employees. And Tanya is a long-time employee and long-time office manager in our district.
Any discussion or questions from the board? Okay, is there a motion to approve the MOU with CSEA for the office manager special assignment?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments?
I think this is a really good idea.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstain? Motion carries with 5 yes votes. Okay, item 11, business and finance. A, approve social media contingency fee agreement.
So the France Law Group approached school districts in our area about joining a class action lawsuit against a series of social media companies. under the argument that the social media marketing and algorithms and the way that they are dealing with their users is a contributor to the mental health crisis that our youth are currently facing. The defendants named are Meta, who is Facebook and Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, and YouTube.
Not Twitter.
Not Twitter somehow. The lawsuit sort of got its impetus from when the Attorney General or the U.S. Surgeon General drew a correlation between students using social media and declining mental health, including depression, suicidal thoughts, and declined interest in school. So we saw this, and it was one of those no win, no fee type of things. We thought, hey, this is something that I think is a valid lawsuit. So we're bringing it to you to weigh if you would like Oroville City Elementary School District to be on this lawsuit or not.
Every year, my fair employer gets sued for something. And every year we get little 3x5 cards saying, hey, your employer is getting sued. Would you like to weigh in? If so, do nothing. If not, please let us know. And every year I do nothing. And every year I find a check in my mailbox. Last time it was 350 and change.
Any questions, discussion?
Will we receive an update?
Yeah, we would receive an update once we enter into the lawsuit. And again, it's a class action lawsuit, so this would take some time.
And if
Interesting.
if the school district benefits, will we decide what to do?
Cross that bridge when we get there.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it could be years out.
Jump
and
off that bridge when we
and-
get there.
question mark amount of money. And who knows, with something like this, if it is successful, if there's some other alternate settlement, you think back to perhaps there have been lawsuits or things against tobacco companies and how the money is channeled to schools directly. So I'm not sure what the impacts or implications would be. This is the first I've seen something along these lines. But I do think that they have a valid point.
The last time I heard a federal judge make a ruling with regards to what was going on in social media, it said the government was in violation of this, I think it's Second Amendment, I don't remember exactly it, the Constitution for asking the social media companies to restrict their news.
And I think we all, as we've experienced social media in the last probably 5-10 years, can say that it has had a hand in a lot of chaotic things that have happened within Oroville City Elementary School District. I don't think there's any way we can deny that.
Okay. Well, is there a motion to approve the social media contingency fee agreement?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Yes.
Abstain? Motion carries with 4 yes votes. Item B, accept recommendation of district's facilities use committee, purchase property adjacent to SDO.
So little background. In a school district, when you're going to change the use of a facility, purchase a facility, or sell a facility, we go through a facilities use committee, sometimes known as a 7-11 committee, because you should have 7 to 11 people. And of that group, I'm not allowed to be a voting member. Neither is our director of maintenance or Dr. Holtam or any of the board. So we held a 7-11 committee to evaluate the for sale property that's immediately adjacent to Sierra del Oro preschool. It's kind of a long wind-out avenue there. If you walked out the front door of Sierra del Oro, it's directly in front of you. It's 4 lots. So we gathered the committee together, and we had members of the public, we had parents, business people. We had a fairly good committee that got together, and I appreciate their time. We spent probably a solid hour working on this and discussing it and touring the site. And they got together and came up with recommendations that they then bring to the board. And their recommendations are how the board then decides what action the board would prefer to take. So my role in this was to gather the committee and bring the information and ask the question. Their role was to answer the question and give you the answer. And I see some of the members of the committee are here today, and I appreciate your guys' service and helping us. So the committee came up with these recommendations for the board. The first was to buy and clean up the lot adjacent to Sierra del Oro Inclusive Preschool. And this prevents other development, and determine the use formally later with another facilities use committee, because that's how facilities use committees work. Second recommendation was to move traffic and parking away from the front of Sierra del Oro Inclusive Preschool and onto the new property. If you think about the front of our special needs preschool and how close the road is to it that goes in front of it, you'll see kind of what they're talking about. Recommendation 3 was to build a new maintenance yard, parking lot, and truck turnaround. Recommendation 4 was to flare the ingress and egress onto Lower Wyandotte Avenue to increase safety, because the lot is higher than the road, so you'd need to kind of cut the hill back a little bit so you can have a better view to go on and off. And recommendation 5 is to clean up the lot, remove bushes, fence off to prevent unauthorized access, and discourage camping / homeless. So these are the recommendations that the committee has brought to you to weigh. The property is still for sale, and I have on this board session today to accept the recommendations, and if you elect to take those recommendations, then to authorize the superintendent to purchase the property or enter into negotiations like we did before, when we were selling Bird Street School, as opposed to having the negotiations between the board and the other party directly. You authorize the superintendent to do so. So that is the report back from the 7-Eleven committee. Do you guys have questions about that? Or?
I'd like to say that I really liked all of the recommendations that the 7-Eleven committee put together. I think they were very thoughtful and very considerate of the needs of that particular piece of, all the vested interests in that area. How much are they asking for it?
I believe it's around $200,000 is what they're asking for. But I don't want to get into negotiation.
No.
And when we do look at the property, Mark Wisterman, who's here, helped us evaluate and did a flyover, and we have some high power lines that go over that property that all you can really build underneath it is a parking lot or a road. You can't build buildings underneath it. So I don't want to get too far into that, but that's what they're asking. And then, whatever negotiations happen or what the negotiations happen, we do have funds in our general fund balance that could afford this. We also have some specialized funds for facilities that we could use from the sale of Bird Street. So
I would also like to let you know that we appreciate the city, Public Works, and also the Sheriff's Department. They've helped clear a lot of the brush and a lot of the low-hanging trees and things between SDO, the studios, and the businesses like Shakey's and Taco Bell right there, so that we can provide better safety there. And though I'm not a voting member of the 7-Eleven committee, we do see a lot of activity transients and things like that. And we're working very closely with the city to provide safe routes to schools. And buying this property would continue our ability to provide a safer environment in that whole community of 3 schools that we have right there.
It seems that the recommendations are all prudent, and most of them were passed by unanimous agreement, but one of them had a 8-1 with the building new maintenance yard, parking lot, and truck turnaround. Can you speak to that at all? Is that financial?
I think it was more about, and I can't speak to why somebody voted the way they did specifically, but I think the discussion centered around, maybe the committee should focus in on procuring the property, securing the property, and clearing the property, working on the parking and the road. And then if there's future use, let's meet again and do that then. Was one of the themes that I got, but I couldn't say specifically why somebody voted the way they did.
Okay.
But I think when you think about what the recommendations mean, is that this allows us to do these things. And, I think they're all, from my perspective, I was happy with the result, but again, I'm just asking the question.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments from the board? Okay, is there a motion to accept the recommendation of the district's facilities use committee?
So moved.
Is there a second? Any further discussion or questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstain? Motion carries with 5 yes votes. Thank you, committee members, for taking your time and sharing your thoughts and presenting us with these recommendations. Appreciate it. All right, and so now item C is to authorize the superintendent to purchase a property adjacent to Sierra del Oro School. So,
So again, this is, since you have accepted the recommendations, all the recommendations are predicated on allowing the superintendent to go and attempt to negotiate the purchase of the property.
discussion or questions from the board? Okay, is there a motion to authorize the superintendent to purchase the property?
I make a motion that we authorize the superintendent to purchase the property adjacent to Sierra del Oro School.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstain? Motion carries with 6 yes votes. Item D, approve unaudited actual financial reports for the 22-23 fiscal year.
If you want to turn on. Quick one. Thank you. Quick one. No, did it wrong. Just one moment. All right. So the unaudited actuals represents the result of me closing the books for the June 30th, 2023 ending fiscal year. So the year that began July 1st, 2022, ended June 30th, 2023. This particular closing was incredibly challenging. There were a lot of new regulations and also a lot of small pools of money that came to us from the federal and state government for COVID response and other things. So if I bit anybody's head off, I'm sorry. That won't happen again. It'll be better next time. I'll drink more coffee. So typically when you close the books, your ending balances tend to end higher than you anticipated at estimated actuals. And there's also a series of important tests that occur on our expenses. So first prediction, ending balances were higher than we predicted at estimated actuals. The majority of this had to do with some large facility projects that you budget that you'll have fully spent out in one fiscal year, and then they're working on them over the summer, and the invoices aren't going to come in until October. And there's no way to predict when those will happen. So that was a big part of the 2.49 million over projection. The other part with any budget is you have, as long as you're not going over budget, you should have some money left over And so there's some small budgeted items that were not realized that will be moved into next year. So the ending balance ended as we'd hoped with more money than less. So instead of showing you pictures of the tests, I came up with this slick slide that just shows you how we did on our tests. So we have the special education maintenance of effort. They call it the SCMA, which has to do with the actuals, and the SCMB, which has to do with the budget. We passed those tests. Those tests are to determine if we are spending an adequate amount of money compared to prior years on our special education students and education. So we are doing that, and we've passed that test. The second test, and this is the one that's been especially difficult with all of the categorical funds coming from the federal and state government related to COVID, was the current expense formula minimum classroom compensation test, which we also passed. So I was happy with that. And then we also have the Every Student Succeeds Act maintenance of effort. This used to be called the No Child Left Behind maintenance of effort. And it's just to determine that we're continuing to spend same amount of money, which we're on education as we were in prior years on a per student basis. So we passed all of our tests, which tells us that we had a good closing and we were spending our money appropriately and in the correct places. And that's the unaudited actuals. We came through. There weren't really any surprises. And we passed all of our tests, which is always great. And I do believe that the unaudited actuals are accurate and complete.
All right, thank you. Any questions or comments from the board? Is there a motion to approve the unaudited actual financial reports?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any additional or any questions or comments? Okay, call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstain? Motion carries with 5 yes votes. Now, item E, to approve the GAN limit appropriations calculations.
All right. So on to the GAN limit. So let's discuss what the GAN limit is and isn't. And as you all know, it is not the radiation source that transformed a mild-mannered scientist into the Incredible Hulk. It is instead a calculation established in 1979. And there is the 1979 Barbie dream house. Notice the nice yellow motif and A-frame. And it's designed to make sure that local and state government growth is constrained by inflation. So if government appropriations exceed the inflationary GAN limit, the funds would be returned to the taxpayers. So the government can't overspend. 1988, and this is actually the 85 model. I couldn't find an 88. The GAN limit was changed. So instead of the taxpayers getting the money back, it goes back into public schools. So if the government overspends, it goes back into the government. See how that goes? 2023, I picked this up off of the movie. The GAN limit has grown significantly faster than government appropriations since 1988. And even if we hadn't, it would just recycle back into the government. So that makes the GAN limit purely a formality for school districts. It's a law, so we have to continue to do 2 items where we have a calculation I present, and you have to adopt a resolution. But I don't know that it's going to have much impact. And then this is how we think the Incredible Hulk feels about the GAN limit being an archaic formality. And there you go.
I appreciate the update to the imagery and the balance between the Hulk and the Barbie.
Please don't encourage him.
Come on, it's the one fun thing I get to do all year.
Is there any,
Doing research.
all right, any questions or comments from the board? All right, is there a motion to approve the GAN limit appropriations calculations?
So moved.
Is there a second?
A second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstain? Motion carries with 5 yes votes. Item F, adopt resolution 23-2402, resolution for adopting the GAN limits.
Want me to start over?
It's recommended that resolution 23-2402, resolution for adopting the GAN limits be adopted as presented pursuant to Government Code Section 79021.
Otherwise known as Groundhog Day. So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstain? Motion carries with 5 yes votes. Item 12, curriculum and instruction, approve revised 23-24 local control and accountability plan.
Thank you. I'll go ahead and speak to this. Upon my arrival to the district, we were notified that there were a couple minor oversights in the LCAP that was presented earlier. One of them was with goal number 4 that was added that deals with our PBIS and culturally responsive education for our students. There was the explanation part towards the end that deals with the funding was omitted. So we had to add that. We did not change anything in the plan. We just had to clarify 4.1, 4.2, 4.3, and 4.4, which also triggered a couple boxes on the actual LCAP that changed the funding being how it was apportioned. So there is one part of it where it went from 7,073,262 to 748,2,503, which were allocations for those 4 sections of the goal number 4. So those were the only updates. It was moving a couple things around. Explaining 4 parts of goal 4, which was the last goal added to the LCAP. And it's already been, the county has already been involved in the process and approved it. We're just bringing back to the board for reapproval.
Thank you. Board, any questions or comments? Okay, is there a motion to approve the revised 23-24 LCAP?
I make a motion that we approve the revised 23-24 LCAP plan.
Is there a second?
A second.
Okay, any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstain? Motion carries with 5 yes votes. B is to adopt resolution 23-2401, resolution on sufficiency of textbooks and standards aligned instructional materials.
As we discussed before during the discussion session, this is the resolution that is done every year to demonstrate that as at the beginning of the school year that we do have textbooks for each of our students, that we are sufficient in providing instructional materials for all our students. And this is the resolution that's put forth. And as mentioned, we had our Williams visit this year, which also has demonstrated what is listed here as well.
Thank you. Any discussion or comments from the board? Is there a motion to adopt resolution 23-2401?
So moved.
Is there a second? Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstain? Motion carries with 5 yes votes. And with that, we will adjourn the meeting at 6:59 PM. Thank you.